Apple is accusing a Taiwanese rival of infringing on its patents, the iPhone maker going as far as trying to block imports from HTC. For more on this fight, we're joined by David Garrity. He is the managing director at GVA Research. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's talk about first. It's not incredibly rare for two technology companies to be suing each other over patent disputes, right? Is this one unique in some way?
Well, there are differences here in terms of the kind of patent portfolios that the two technology companies have. HTC, first and foremost, its roots were as a contract manufacturer based over in China. Whatever they did it cheaper, and that's why they got the business over time. When you look at what Apple's doing trying to protect their patent portfolio around the hardware and the user interface for the iPhone, there had been earlier cases brought against Nokia. Actually, Nokia having filed suit against Apple back in October of last year, and Apple counterclaiming in a suit in December. But in the case of looking, say, at Apple and Nokia, you had two companies which arguably both have been spending lots of money on research and development over time, and so really did have portfolios that they're trying to protect. In the case of HTC, you don't have the R&D spending, you don't have the patent portfolio, so yes, this is just infringement of public intellectual property.
Clear case for you then?
In our case, it's very much of a clear case, but we think what's actually interesting here is that HTC has been out as an assembler, in this case in the smartphone market, more for companies such as Microsoft and now progressively Google, who are putting obviously software into the smartphone market. They would like to build up an installed base, much as what Apple has with their operating system right now. The way we look at this case here is that Apple, by pursuing HTC, is not just pursuing HTC and any other contract manufacturer that violates these patents, but really at the end of the day is trying to make sure that the Apple smartphone operating system remains the predominant platform for which developers are making software applications. Obviously, the App Store and the extent that apps are out there and draw users to a system are very significant here, and to the extent that Apple can succeed in slowing down HTC, the largest supplier for Windows Mobile, Microsoft products, obviously it can have very important implications over time.
It's funny, you can't help but notice the extreme similarities between HTC's phones, the Droid phones, and Apple's iPhone. They all seem to be based off of the iPhone, right? At the same time, Steve Jobs says we can't sit by and watch competitors steal our patented inventions in the statement about the complaint for the suit, but he says he's going to stand on the shoulders of Amazon when he releases his iPad, which is really just a fancy e-reader, isn't it?
Well, it might be, but in the case with the Kindle, I mean, what Amazon did was certainly very, very popular and certainly quite successful, well received in the marketplace, but to the extent that if you look at the iPad, it's not just an e-reader. You might think about it as being an iPhone in a larger format, and to the extent that Apple has been so much more successful in digitizing content, in this respect, Amazon still remains very much at a disadvantage.
David, let me ask you, I mean, why do you think we're seeing this increased litigation over smartphones? Is it just, everyone just trying to really kind of own the market here?
Well, we're getting to a point where, smartphones are now representing approximately about 20% of the units that are being sold in the cell phone market. And as you get to that tipping point, you get to a level where, you have a step function in terms of people's use of the internet. People are obviously going to be using a device that's with them 24/7 a lot more than they will a laptop or a desktop. And it's at this point in time, if this is a tipping point, if this is an inflection point, Apple's moving at precisely the right time to protect its intellectual property, to ensure that other people don't necessarily capture something which one might argue Apple really was very successful in terms of monetizing and developing, although we might make arguments that Palm was actually in the smartphone market first.
It's interesting, though, I mean, if they do get a block, if they win a block against these HTC phones, it doesn't hit just HTC, but also Microsoft and Google, right?
That's very much. I mean, to the extent that HTC positions itself as being a contract manufacturer, to the extent that there's a war going on in the smartphone market and HTC is just selling bullets for whoever is providing the software, if you can stop HTC, you can basically establish a legal precedent which works in Apple's favors with respect to every other contract manufacturer out there who Microsoft and Google might wish to partner with.
All right, good to have you here, David. Make sense of all of this. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
David Garrity of GVA Research.